Well, hello and welcome back to the Faux World. This is R.A. Casper. I finished the upper portion of the pyramid, all four sides. I'm starting on the lower section here. One thing I didn't plan on was how dark the interior part was going to be. If you look, the King's Chamber is very, very dark. And this part of the Grand Gallery is lit up right now, but this part is dark. Let's actually get a closer look. And as I said before, I constructed it specifically so that mobs could not spawn inside. So it's all half slabs, stairs, and glass. But and by the way, I'm going to leave this open. I'm not going to put a door here. There are gates on each of the entrances in the center point on each side, but I'm not going to put a door here. So monsters could follow you in if you tried to run into the pyramid to escape them. Like this right here is lit up because of course the sky is above it, but after I fill in the exterior of the pyramid, it's going to be dark just like this. I was wondering how much this beam of light from the beacon would light up things in here. I suppose this room will be light. And the gallery here is going to be dark. And the King's Chamber with the sarcophagus. I was wondering, maybe I should put some, I don't know, torches or something in here. Maybe glowstone. Maybe I'll put a few pieces of glowstone in here. I don't know. We'll see how dark it gets. I'm not too upset about the darkness, but if people visit and they want to check it out, it's going to be kind of hard to see. So I've got the first 4 or 5 layers built up all the way around. So at this point, I can't just hop out. I actually have to use the doors now. So I guess I should pick something to talk about as I put down the half slabs. What can we talk about? How about operating systems? I've had a lot of computers. Own them in my lifetime. Although strangely enough, I never really had a home computer with Windows. I started with Commodore computers, then went from the Commodore 64 to the Commodore Amiga, and in school, like in high school, I used 8-bit Apples, the Apple II series. When I was in college, we used, I don't even know what they were some kind of mainframes where you had to access them with a terminal. But, yeah, I was Commodore Amiga guy for a long time. It's part of that Amiga community. Then I started to, well, I'm not going to go into the whole story. If you know a bit of computer history, you probably know the frustration that Amiga users went through with trying to get their computers supported near the end of the run. Actually, let me sleep here. Pretty close to the ground, so the monsters will probably catch me while I'm out there. I think I need more slabs anyway. So yeah, I started to get a bit frustrated, especially since in the around the mid-90s. Because I could get on the internet using a web browser using the Amiga. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We'll get one more. I was using the Amiga operating system version 2.1, which is very stable. But for some reason you couldn't, web browsers wouldn't work with that. So you had to get version 3, which was not as stable, but it was more fully featured. But there was a lot of, as I hinted before, frustration in trying to get it to work when it's not supported by the company. It's only supported by the user community, which is great, but you kind of had to rely on the hobby time of strangers to get your production machine working. So I started to, let's see, I had an IBM emulator that worked on the Amiga that emulated DOS. Not Windows, just the command line operating system. And I was using that to run a database called, what was it called? DBase 3. And I was using that as a production machine for a small business, believe it or not, running on an Amiga. And since I was into emulation, I also found a Mac emulator, which was the classic Mac version 7, I believe. It was called something like Shapeshifter, reaching back quite a few decades. So I think that's what it was called. And this was a, project by, an individual computer programmer. And I wasn't running the current at the time version of the Mac operating system. I was using one that you could download for, it was an older one, which you could download for free from Apple, which they were making available just for backward compatibility with old systems. So I started to use that, and I used that to get online, and it was much easier than the Amiga. So I don't know if you guys remember what it was like to get online, because it was dial-up. There was no broadband. So you had to have all these separate programs you had to configure yourself. You had to have a dialing program, which would dial the modem. And you had to have a TCP/IP stack. And then, some kind of networking. I think that was the networking protocol. I think there were 2 programs to do. I think I might be missing something. I think there was another step in there. Once you had TCP/IP running, you had to have, of course, any of your programs you want to use on the internet, like your web browser, or FTP, or IRC, or what was it called? Gopher, I think, was some kind of file transfer program. Showing my age a bit here, but. Yeah, what was I talking about? Operating systems. So that got me into Macintosh. And I spent a long time, because at the time I was broke. Didn't have I went through a period with no income for a few years actually. So there's no way I could get a computer. So I was just using whatever I had. Then my brother actually gave me a Macintosh computer for Christmas one year, which kind of blew me away. So those things are expensive, but he had a job and I didn't. He could afford it, and I guess, and that was it was crazy that he'd do something like that for me, but he did. And that was let me see. It was one of the beige Macs, which was produced before Steve Jobs came back to Apple. I forget which processor was in it. Some Motorola chip, I think. But I used that that got me into Macintoshes. And I used Macs exclusively for like 10 years. I think after that, when I finally did get a regular job and was able to save up for my own computer, I got a iMac G4, which I call the iLamp, because it was one of those iMacs which it had sort of like a dome-like base, then a silver arm which came out of the center of it, and it had a 17-inch flat screen attached to it. And it was a 1 gigahertz processor. I think it had like 700 megabytes of RAM. It didn't even have 1 gigabyte of RAM. That was one super solid computer. It did everything I asked. It wasn't super fast, but it never crashed. It was very, very reliable. And then I think it was 2006 when Apple switched to Intel processors, and I got a MacBook, one of the consumer level white plastic laptop computers. I got that, and that one had a few problems. I had to take it back for service a few times. There were like random shutdowns and overheating issues and various things, but pretty much everything was covered under warranty. And I upgraded it a few times. You could upgrade the RAM and the hard drive in that thing, so I did that. And the operating system, I was using OS 10. Let's see, on the G4 iMac, I think I was using Panther. It came with the one before that, which I think was, what was it, Jaguar? And then I got Panther. And Tiger came out after that. But I never upgraded to Tiger because I figured that as long as all the software that I was using worked, why bother? And that's kind of my attitude with Apple operating systems, is that really only upgrade or spend money to upgrade when there's some reason to. Like if there's a program you need to use which needs some library files which are not in the old system. Or if you get a gadget like an iPod which needs a version of iTunes which doesn't run under the old one. Something like that. So I used that for a long time. And then what am I doing here? There's supposed to be using half slabs, not stairs. And in 2009, I bought my first Linux computer because I was getting kind of disillusioned with Apple. And I liked the idea of Linux being, it was kind of community supported and created, similar to the Amiga computer community that I used to be involved in. And it was all open source, and I liked the idea of it. I'm not, I have, created programs in the past, but I'm not really like a system level computer programmer. I mostly used things like BASIC and Pascal to program. So with Linux, there's sort of an expectation that if something breaks, you'll be able to fix it yourself, or get help on internet forums, fix whatever is wrong. But I went with a System 76 computer because System 76 is a company that custom manufactures computers to run Ubuntu. And Ubuntu is sort of, I guess it's known sort of as like a beginner's Linux. But especially because of my history with Macintoshes and the it just works philosophy, where it just works just means that you typically don't have to install drivers to get things to work. You just have to plug them in and you'll be recognized. And you can just use it right away. It doesn't it just works philosophy does not mean that it never crashes. Of course, Macs crash. So I went with the System 76 because it used Ubuntu, and it was the hardware was selected to be compatible with the software, and darn it, that was kind of their company philosophy, and they're still around, of course. My present computer is a Bonobo from System 76. But what was I talking about? Operating systems. Getting kind of sidetracked here. Yeah, I'm kind of a nerd, so I guess I can talk all day about computers. But right now, I mean, when I had my MacBook, my original MacBook from 2006, I was kind of on this lifestyle design project where I wanted to simplify my life as much as possible. So I just had the one computer. I sold all of my old computers. Well, I have an old clamshell iBook, which I still have. But all my main computers I sold. I sold the iLamp on eBay. And everything else. So I just had the one computer, and I put everything on that hard drive and backed it up in one place. So it was very easy to keep track of. Keep track of all my data. I kept like one folder with all my data and kept everything in subfolders. But my computing life today is not that simple. So I do have a Windows 7 install on one of the drives on my Bonobo. I've got Ubuntu Linux, the long-term support version, where I keep most of my information. Then I've got the old iBook that has Panther and the classic operating system on it. There's just a couple games that I have that run the classic Mac OS, which I never really play anymore, but they're there, I guess, in case I wanna pull those out and play them. One of them is Warcraft 2. I never finished that game. Well, I did finish the main game, but I didn't finish the Through the Dark Portal expansion, which I do have, but I never finished it. So what is that? Windows, Ubuntu, Classic Mac, Panther Mac. I also have a Macintosh, a MacBook Air, one of the 11-inch models. So it was the base model when they first came out in 2011. So I have one of those, and that was running OS X Snow Leopard for a long time. But I recently upgraded it to Mavericks. I suppose I could upgrade it again to the new one. What is it? Yosemite, but I haven't done that. Because I don't really use that very much. So I've got all these for every operating system you have to have some kind of backup solution, right? So it just increases the complexity of your computer life to have all this stuff. So sometimes I think maybe I should simplify and just like get rid of all this stuff and just have one computer again, but haven't done that. Really just not using things as much and just using, like for instance, Windows. Like I'm playing on Windows right now. I record using Fraps, which is a program which only runs under Windows. And I did try unsuccessfully for more than a year to try to get a good video recording setup so that I could record Minecraft under Ubuntu. I was never able to do it. I mean, I did it, and I have videos on the Carl Blemming channel that with my test videos. I mean, it's not impossible. You can do it, but the quality, I wasn't happy with the quality of the video output, and I usually had to transcode the video into something that I could edit with OpenShot, which is my video editor. But with these gaming videos, I've been recording using Fraps and editing using Windows Movie Maker, that free video editor that you get with Windows. So yeah, there's probably a better solution, but that's what I'm using right now. I was thinking about getting Adobe Premiere Elements, I believe it's called, which is the consumer level Adobe video editor. If I got that, I could edit these videos plus the Carl Blemming videos even, because I've been a bit frustrated with OpenShot lately. But I don't really want to give up Linux. I could, I've got Windows 7 running on my Bonobo, and I could just reformat the drives and reinstall it so that Windows is my only operating system, but don't really want to. And I actually don't back up Windows because I don't have any permanent information on it. If I lose my hard drive and have to reinstall, then I'll just reinstall from scratch and just load everything on it again. I'd have to reinstall the drivers and also the programs I use, which are basically Fraps, Minecraft, Path of Exile, and Firefox. That's about it. I don't really use it that much. But I can't really switch completely to Ubuntu because I want to record games for YouTube. So I think I've rambled on enough for one episode as I'm filling in these sandstone slabs. So thanks for putting up with me if you've listened this far. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.